Labiotech was in Malmö, Sweden recently for NLS Days, where the NLS stands for Nordic Life Science. It's an opportunity for regional companies to come together and meet, although it's now definitely become more of an international event. It was also an opportunity for us to talk to some of the companies in attendance.
All right, so I guess if you could tell me about your company, because it seems like this is something that a lot of companies have gaps in what you do.
Yeah, Pharmacist is a Nordic company which provides both services and expertise within the field of regulatory affairs. And we usually refer to the knowledge matrix when we talk about our companies. Particularly in Sweden, I would say, many large companies have kind of disappeared, but there are still a lot of expertise around in Sweden. Both in terms of depth of expertise and also different kinds of expertise, the breadth of knowledge and so on. And to summarize that, again, we refer this to the knowledge matrix. Pharmacist is part of that matrix, and we do several things. For example, we have expertise within the field of medical writing. It's very experienced people with PhDs and usually at least 10 years of postdoc within a certain field, medical field. And they also, so they know how to write things in a scientific way, but also in a regulatory way. And startup companies, growth companies, and sometimes also companies, more established companies, need that kind of expertise, either because they need the knowledge or the capacity. So we can provide that. Another area of expertise is regulatory affairs for medicinal products. Could be international companies who would like to have a better understanding of how it works in the Nordic countries, and we can provide that. For example, it could be registration of products, it could be management of documentation that is required from a local point of view. Another area is GDP, good distribution practice. Medicines needs to be distributed from one inventory to another one, and sometimes also to a pharmacy. And there is a lot of quality assurance matters that requires expertise in that area. We do advisory in that field and also provide certain services, for example, responsible persons which are kind of registered by the authorities here in Sweden. The fourth area is pharmacovigilance. It's required by pharmaceutical companies to register adverse events. It could be detected from the literature, it could be reported on the web, on the net, or patients or doctors are calling into pharmaceutical companies or to us and reporting adverse events that has happened. This is compiled in reports and sent in to the authorities and also to the manufacturers for further. So we do that also. We also involved in medical devices. In Europe there is a new regulation both for diagnostic products as well as for medical devices. And we have the expertise both to provide advice, to update documentation, the technical documentation required under MDR and IVDR, which the new regulations is referred to. So we have that also. Again, Pharmacist is part of a large knowledge matrix. In here you had some examples of what we can provide. We're also part of a group which has a CRO, a clinical research organization, that can help the same companies to perform clinical investigations and clinical trials. So that's also part of the matrix. We also have, as former employees in pharmaceutical companies and so on, private contact points and so on. So for example, financing is my area. I have long experience in financing different companies. So if a client would like to have contacts with investors, I may have someone that could be contacted and a new starting point in this development of the company can take place. We also have established contacts, for example, in the legal area. startup companies and growth companies need expertise, and from a legal point of view, patent point of view also. Many of us have been involved in both patenting medicinal products or medical devices or dealing with other legal matters, and so we have the contacts that are also. So again, I think in Sweden and in the Nordic countries, this knowledge matrix is extremely important. There is a lot of expertise around from the time when we have large companies, and it's very important for us right now to transfer this knowledge to the next generation of companies and employees and experts within this particular field. We will always need to have medicines, and there will always be a need to improve patient care for society. I think consultancy firms like us works in different ways depending on what kind of client it is. If you take startup companies and also large established companies, they may need certain expertise at a certain point in time. So sometimes we are kind of a flexible pool of capacity. So we go in a project, work for a month or 2 years or whatever, and then we pull out from that particular project. So we've helped that client to come over a certain capacity bottleneck. Deadlines and time is usually very, very important, to reach a certain milestones for startup companies affecting investors' interest, for example. So that's one thing. The other one is small companies may not need to employ a full-time equivalent on a certain post. They only need a 20% or a 40%. So we can support that also. So we go in with, for example, 20 to 40% full-time equivalent to do a certain function in that particular company until that company have grown up and maybe nor even more capacity. So both in terms of capacity to speed something up, or to make sure that the company is spending the money on the right thing at a certain point in time. So that's one part of it. The other one is expertise. So a small company may not have access, may not afford to employ the expertise, and then we can come in as an advisor and expertise in a certain area, certain point in time.